What's up, guys? This is Cashryn from Lyrium Addicts, and today I've got the very first Doctor Who lore video. This will be episode 1. What is a Time Lord? Now, Time Lords are actually originate from the planet Gallifrey. Now, not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords, but some Time Lords are Gallifreyan. Not one thing you gotta understand is that the Gallifreyans do not like the Time Lords, and because of this, they had to come with a hierarchy. So, with Time Lords being the upper class, they are more of the ruling Gallifreyans. The leader of the Gallifreyans is known as the Lord President, also known as the President of the Council, and he helps govern the High Council of the Time Lords. Now, when that happens, the High Council of the Time Lords then are the ones who govern the Time Lords and the Gallifreyans. As their name suggests, the Time Lords are considered lords of time itself. However, this is not true. They can travel in time and space. However, the one thing they cannot do is actually control time and space, which was their original goal. They failed at this, and instead they became the oldest living civilization in the universe, which gave them absolute power for 10 million years. This will quickly end during the Great Time War when their power is actually rivaled by the Daleks. Time Lords are, in fact, inherently close to humans, which is why most Time Lords actually become human. However, that's not always the case. They can become, although we have not seen one, this is a possibility. Now, the biggest indication of a Time Lord is their regenerative powers, or regeneration. A freshborn Time Lord, 12 regenerations and 1 life, giving them a total of 13 lives. Now, you can have many lives. However, the 13 is not the only amount you can get. As we see with Smith, he's given an entire another cycle of lives. 1, but 12 regenerations. At this time, I believe this means that he is considered a very, very high authority figure within the Time Lords, because they only give that to 2 special groups. That would be the Lord President and the High Council of Time Lords. So he is somewhere in between there, or maybe even higher. We don't know yet. However, we have some indication with the Parody series and one of his final episodes. Now, one question is, how long does a Time Lord live with 1 regeneration? A good indication of this is that a Time Lord toddler, or also known as a Time Tot, will stay a toddler until they are 200 years old. Once they are 200 years old, they are actually considered an adult. If that gives you any idea of how long they live, then there you go. If you need more proof, there was a Time Lord known as Handrel, and he claimed that a single regeneration can last anywhere to 10,000 years without regenerating. Now, we are not entirely sure about this, but that gives us a good indication. Time Lord art is known as a stasis cube, and this was actually, before it was Time Lord art, it was considered the very, very rudimentary form of time travel. And what they would do is they would put a Time Lord into the cube, and then thousands of years later, they would release him. This was considered the first form of actual time travel, and instead of just trashing it after making the TARDIS, they decided to use it for art, and it gives you a 3D image of whatever goes inside. Now, one thing that most people do not know is that the stasis cube is actually the blueprints to the TARDIS itself. It was the very first thing, and it's like the toaster to the oven. Now, the education of a Time Lord varies. However, they start at the age of 8, and they join the Time Lord Academy. Now, to begin with their schooling, they are put into the basement of the academy, where they see the untempered schism, which is, in layman's terms, it is pure time and space. It is a vortex that holds the very fabric of everything, of existence itself, and they look inside of it. This is actually what made the Master go crazy. And this is going to be a video I'm going to make just on this, but I'll explain everything in that later on. Due to their closely related attributes to humans, Time Lords have the same diet as we do. However, the difference is if we went to another planet, there's a chance we may get poisoned by the food, whereas the Time Lords have actually learned to digest a variety of different types of foods, which is why they don't get poisoned when they eat foods from different planets. As humans, we do not actually have that ability, which is why I think it's very stupid of Clara in the, I believe it's the episode Rings of Akatan, where she's just in the market with Smith and eating all kinds of fucking food without even asking him, is this going to kill me? If I was his companion, I would ask, is this poison or is this food? Now, although he gave it to her, I still feel like, I would have, the doctor forgets. He forgets that he's with the human. He might forget and she might eat something and kill her. So I think it's still stupid, but that's a nerd. That's the geeky tangent coming out. We're going to move on to criminal punishment. Now, for Time Lords, there's not much you can do to a Time Lord to piss them off or to punish them. The only thing you can really do is take away their regenerations. And this is the form of punishment for Time Lords. If you do something very, very minuscule like the Doctor did in his second form, and you break the rules set where you are not allowed to interfere with other planets, which the Doctor broke by interfering with humans in the world, you lose one regeneration. They actually force you, well, he didn't lose it, but he was forced to regenerate, and that is the minimal punishment you will get as a Time Lord, is you will be forced into your next regeneration. And then the next one we have would be the Master. When the Master, during the Tennant era, when he decided to kill off all these humans, because that was irreversible, he lost a regeneration, and then on top of that, not only did he lose a regeneration, but he also was forced to turn into the next Master. The next kind of punishment you get is the cream of the crop when it comes to punishments, where they drain everything from you. Every little bit. In fact, if you did not know this, a quick tip is the regeneration cycle that Smith gets is actually from another criminal, which is from another criminal Time Lord. That is entire regeneration given to him from someone else. And that's the main bits I wanted to say about the Time Lords. There's a shit ton more. They are very vast in numbers and vast in information. If you would like to see a part 2 to this, let me know. As always, this was Cashryn. If you liked what you saw, please fondle that sexy subscribe button. Until next time, guys.